Of course, in late March, WrestleMania 3 happens, and it's the biggest wrestling show ever.
Yep.
And I know that sounds like a weird question, but how did that make you feel? I mean, it feels like, man, we got TBS, we got the big Starcade, we got these Great American Bash tours, but damn it, he's done it again.
You phrased it pretty well.
Is it defeating at that point, or does it still serve as motivation, though, to grow, see what's possible?
Honestly, at that point in '87, it was defeating. Really, it's like, how do I compete with this?
Right.
You go back and you add up a whole bunch of missteps, the stopping a match in Atlanta. I don't know how to phrase it, but at that point it's like, I'm not sure that I can manage this to come close to competing, because I realized I'd made some mistakes talent-wise, finish-wise, and once I wasn't sure I could do it anymore.
In hindsight, do you think it was a mistake to have the mentality to try to compete with Vince? Because you could have been very profitable without it.
I have thought about that off and on. What if? And if we had stayed just the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, but done it the Paul Bosch way, he used his wrestling to some retail store. If we had done used car dealerships, car insurance agencies, used the wrestlers to promote other businesses, and done it like a barter, we could have made a ton of money. We never would have been able to keep a Ric Flair.
Right.
Or, do a lot of other, but we had I had opportunities that I could have taken advantage of and just let go by the wayside.
Like?
The Rock and Roll Express,
Right.
But I look back now, the regional car dealers, used car dealers, come buy here, pay here. Would have been a perfect.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't think about it. Didn't even cross my mind.
Well, in fairness, I know it's easy to look back and be critical of your own work sometimes, but goodness gracious, you were doing a lot.
There's
only so many hours in a day that you or Dusty or guys like that could have did it. Perhaps we go back to you needed a bigger staff.
Yeah, I had a guy, Tom, and I can't remember his last name. Man, he was a ball of fire. He says, you know what? You need to start a bank. And he had all the plans and this, that, and the other. And he killed himself. He was driving down the road at 100 miles an hour and just into a bridge. Nobody knows why. Had a beautiful wife, was doing very well. But I was actually talking to somebody about starting a bank. He said, now, you got to understand, you cannot borrow money from your bank.
Right.
But the stuff it gives you outside of that.
Huge.
And I'm going, hey, this makes sense. Yeah. And you weren't talking about a lot of capital.
Right.
The rules were different back then. But that was as close to us came to, using the wrestling for something other than wrestling.
Yeah. I got to tell you a plan about wrestling and mortgages one day, but that's a talk for another day. Let's talk about WrestleMania 3. I know this is a weird, tough subject, but up to that point, had there been a talent who had left that you felt like was a missed opportunity? Because, like, for instance, WrestleMania 3, you see Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine, Bob Orton, Ricky Steamboat, Harley Race. It's all your old guys, and now here they are working against you, and it seems to be working. Do you look at any of those talents and say, man, what if I'd have held on to that guy?
The only one, the ones you just mentioned were Steamboat.
Right.
Harley was good, but, he was old school.
Right.
Piper, I mean, he was a Vince type guy, didn't really fit us. But Steamboat was a mistake.
Well, 10 days or so after WrestleMania, you closed the deal to purchase Bill Watts territory, which at the time he was calling the UWF. And as the story goes, Jim Ross, who was Bill's right-hand man, reached out to you and Vince to try to broker a deal here. Watts' business was on the ropes, and he wanted out. I think by this point, everyone knew it's a two-horse race. Bosch is getting out, Gagne's Promotions in shambles, World Class is down, Memphis is down. So Watts didn't want to be next. And I think it's been said that JR tried to play both sides against the middle here. He wanted Vince to think you were about to get another territory, and he wanted you to think the same of Vince. And the idea being here is someone will want to win, and they'll pay more money. Ultimately, you win the chance to buy a dead territory. A lot to unpack here. Can you tell us exactly what happened?
I don't remember. I'm sure Jim was playing both sides against the middle at that point because he's not stupid. I mean, he's a pretty bright guy.
Yeah.
So, but my TV guy, Rob Garner, said with that Watts' syndication, that puts us over the magic number for national buys.
It was 100, right? Because that would have put you at 110, I believe.
Well, whatever it was, it was the magic number. That's what the carrot was for us.
I see.
And it worked, but we never got the money. So it was one of those. It was a good decision and a bad decision.
Do you remember if they offered a price up front or what the negotiation process looked like?
Oh, they wanted all this money up front because they'd heard that Vince got $1 million, and it was like, no, you're going to get a percentage of what happens, and that's the way it ended up.
What sort of due diligence, if any, did you do going into that deal?
Well, verifying they had the TV shows on.
Right.
What is syndication? They did check that, and the important stations that we needed to make sure the program stayed on was verified, but that was about it. Because we weren't going to run Lafayette, Louisiana anytime soon.
Is it true that Jim Ross made sure he carved a deal out for himself as well?
I'm just.
Allegedly, he not only got a piece of whatever Watts received, but he also negotiated that he would be one of your lead announcers.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to be my lead, one of our announcers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a good announcer. Why wouldn't I? I mean,
Of course. How was Watts to deal with when you're putting this deal together?
Pain in the ass.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about that?
No. He was difficult to deal with at best, and then just.
Were you getting the vibe from Watts or JR when you would get to these sort of difficult parts of the conversation? Well, if you don't want it, Vince will take it.
That never came up because I don't think it really was there.
Okay.
I mean, Vince didn't need either one of us, to tell you the truth.
Right. Yeah, at the time he had over 200 syndicated stations himself.
He wasn't buying anything at that point. He was taking.
I see.